Good morning. I'm Jim O'Neill. I'm chairing the Cities Growth Commission. It's a delight to be here in Manchester to take our first formal evidence about our work, and thank you everybody for coming.
It was a very useful evidence session for us. It was our first, and we heard from three very different groups of people. First of all, political leaders, then from business leaders, and then also hearing from a group of people who had particular expertise in issues around higher education and infrastructure.
For me, I think the most salient point, or the thing that I'll really take away from it, is that it's down to cities themselves even more than I thought. So a lot of our work has been about obsessing about what central government does or doesn't do, and I think that's right because they hold too much of the budget, too many of the levers. But I think what I was really impressed by, speaker after speaker, is how even small amounts of extra power, but really the budgets that we've got at the moment, can and should be used more effectively. And if we use them more effectively to lobby government about how we can do better things, that we get a better result overall.
One of the problems that we face as cities is the inability of cities to control any substantial aspect of their own funding, and that is a fundamental weakness.
The things that struck me were, first of all, how powerfully Greater Manchester has created a consensus about the need to be in a position where it can control its own destiny. And there's a very strong determination amongst business and civic leaders here to have greater powers that they believe, if they were given those powers, would help them drive growth.
I think the degree of impact can be correlated against the degree of responsibility that an area and ownership have over the funds and therefore the outcomes. And the less responsibility and the less ownership, therefore the less responsibility on outcomes.
A couple of things that come out to me. One is this notion of somehow trying to have interventions to encourage universities to be even more ambitious in creating opportunity and jobs for people that might otherwise disappear off to London or elsewhere is something in my mind I feel more confident about after this morning. The measurement of the success of the ideas we're likely to suggest will have such longevity that you can't have our suggestions as vulnerable to the electoral cycle. So I think we've got to be having some aspects of it which the democratic process of the different parties might want to pick and choose, but actually I'm thinking a bit differently about it than I was yesterday, that we've got to get all three of them to buy into the importance and benefits of what we're talking about, which is of course a bit harder, but gives us plenty more to go for.